They move around you, voices carrying like wind through a hollow room. Words are spoken with sharp edges, and yet they do not land where they are meant to. You listen quietly, as though each sound is a stone dropped into a still pond. Ripples spread, yet you remain in the center, untouched. Have you ever noticed how loud the world can feel when your own heart is calm? How the noise of others can make the stillness inside you feel like it is floating on water, suspended, waiting. There is a subtle beauty in this quiet, a kind of breath that does not demand attention but simply exists. You do not need to respond. You do not need to explain yourself. And yet, the silence feels heavy at first, as if it is not yours to hold. Perhaps you have felt this before, the weight of simply being present without making a sound. It is not emptiness. It is a space filled with something deeper, something almost invisible, yet unmistakably alive, the way the air shifts when someone enters the room, the way a word can hover in your mind long after it is spoken, the way your own heartbeat seems louder when the world speaks faster than you can move. Have you ever listened so closely that the world's clamor becomes a gentle rhythm, and your own breath becomes the quietest music? This is where the first lesson begins. Not in action, not in reply, but in simply noticing. The quiet does not arrive all at once. It is a patient guest. At first, it may feel strange, almost like a stranger in your chest. You might fidget, glance around, wonder if you are invisible, or perhaps if you are failing to belong. Yet as you settle into it, the strange becomes familiar. The quiet begins to feel like a place you can live in, a room within yourself where no one else can intrude. What does it mean to truly sit with yourself without interruption? How does it feel when no one else's judgment touches the edges of your mind? In this space, even the smallest sounds gain meaning. A sigh, barely heard, a shifting foot, the soft scrape of a chair. They are not disturbances. They are invitations to listen more closely. You realize that listening is not only about hearing the world outside. It is about understanding the world within. Every thought that drifts into your mind, every flicker of feeling, is a quiet teacher if you are willing to notice. Have you felt the calm that follows simply noticing, simply breathing, without needing to act? And there is a certain courage in this stillness. Though it is not loud or proud, it does not announce itself. It does not demand recognition. It simply holds space for what is without rushing, without forcing. You begin to understand that silence is not the absence of life. It is the presence of understanding. It is the awareness that every sound, every motion, every glance is fleeting, and that your own being is not measured by how you respond, but by how you respond. But by how you respond. Sometimes you may feel the urge to speak, to defend, to claim your place in the noise. And yet, if you pause, even for a heartbeat, you may notice something remarkable. The world continues, as it always does, and yet you're calm has a weight of its own. They may speak, they may move, they may press against you, but there is a quiet center that no one can disturb. Have you ever felt that? That quiet that is stronger than any shouted word, firmer than any insistence, gentler than any push. It is in these moments that the mind begins to open, softly, like a flower turning toward the light. You are not running from the world, and you are not hiding. You are simply letting the world pass around you, noticing its rhythms, and in the noticing, finding a rhythm of your own, a rhythm that is steady, calm, and patient. And as you breathe, slowly, evenly, you feel a small kind of power stirring, not the power of noise or argument, but the quiet power of presence. The world may continue to press, may continue to speak, may continue to rush, but in the soft corners of your being, you have found a place that does not need to hurry, a place that does not need to prove itself, a place where simply being is enough. And as you sit there, listening, observing, breathing, you begin to understand something timeless and simple, that the deepest strength does not come from speaking louder, but from the patience to remain quiet, the courage to hold still, and the wisdom to notice what is passing, what is permanent, and what is quietly yours alone. And so you sit in the gentle hush, letting the world move without haste, letting the voices rise and fall like distant tides, and feeling for the first time in a long while that silence is not empty. It is full, full of presence, full of understanding, full of a quiet, unshakable power that does not demand, but simply is. They watch you from the edges, moving with curiosity and unease. They speak, and their words carry a weight that is not meant for you, or perhaps it is meant for the version of yourself they imagine. Have you noticed how easily the world can misread a calm heart? How a quiet manner can be mistaken for weakness or patience for disinterest? And yet what they see is only a shadow of what is within. You may feel a gentle tension rising, almost imperceptible, like the air before a soft rain. Their eyes search for signs, their words probe for cracks, and you realize that they are trying to fit you into a shape that does not belong to you. Do you feel the small sting of this misunderstanding? Not anger, not frustration, but a quiet discomfort that settles in your chest like a stone. It is the sensation of being seen and yet unseen at the same time. Sometimes they smile at your silence as if it were a puzzle to solve, as if your restraint were a riddle meant to be cracked. They push, softly at first, then insistently, trying to evoke a reaction, a spark that confirms their expectations, and you notice something remarkable. The less you move to please them, the more they attempt to shape you. And still, in that effort to conform, your own inner world remains untouched, quietly holding its own rhythm. Have you ever realized that the very act of misunderstanding can reveal the depth of your own steadiness? There is a strange loneliness in being misunderstood, though it is strange loneliness in being misunderstood, though it is not bitter. It is a gentle solitude, a space where the world's assumptions fall away and you are left with only yourself. In this quiet, you begin to hear your own voice more clearly. Not the one spoken aloud, but the one that whispers softly, guiding, observing, steadying. Have you felt that voice? The one that does not need applause, that does not need applause, that does not need agreement, that simply knows. They may judge, and in their judgment, you may feel the tug of doubt. Did you speak too little? Did you show too little? And yet, if you breathe and sit with yourself, you begin to see that their judgments are not yours to carry. They are reflections of their own expectations, their own awes, and their own need to define the world in terms they can hold. And in this, seeing a small relief spreads. The world does not need to understand you. It simply is, and so are you. You begin to notice the subtle ways in which their misunderstandings manifest. A look that lingers too long, a word that twists the meaning of what you intended, a question that seems innocent but holds a quiet accusation, and still you remain, not because you are stubborn, not because you are hiding, but because the center of yourself is untouchable. There is a soft strength in being seen incorrectly, a quiet teaching in holding your ground without resistance. Have you ever felt the clarity that comes from standing still while the world moves around you? Unsure of your shape or measure, the discomfort lingers for a while, like a shadow stretching across the floor at the edge of light. You do not chase it away, nor do you cling to it. You simply allow it to exist, noticing its presence and understanding its purpose. It is a reminder of the space between the world and your heart, of the gentle distance that allows you to observe without being swallowed. And in that distance, you feel something extraordinary, a freedom born not from being accepted, but from simply existing as you are. They may never fully understand. And yet, in this quiet tension, there is a lesson almost imperceptible, almost forgotten in the rush of life, that the world's reading of you does not define your essence, that calm is not apathy, patience is not passivity, and silence is not absence. And so you breathe slowly, softly, noticing the small rise and fall of your chest, the subtle rhythm of your mind, and the quiet certainty that who you are is complete, regardless of how they perceive it. You feel the gentle power in this realization, not a storm or a blaze, but a soft warmth that spreads from your heart through your body. You do not need them to nod, to agree, to see. Their misunderstanding cannot reach the core of your being. And in this awareness, a quiet peace settles, like a candle lit in a dark room, steady and unwavering. You are here. You are present. And in your own quiet presence, there is a strength they may never notice. Yet it is real, and it is yours. In the quiet of your own heart, you begin to notice a subtle shift. The urge to respond, to explain, to defend, slowly fades. Like mist lifting from a still lake, Have you ever felt the strange ease that comes when you do not react, when you let the moment pass without leaving a trace of yourself in its wake? It is not emptiness, nor is it surrender. It is something gentler, more profound, a quiet acknowledgement that not every spark needs to ignite a flame. They may speak with expectation, pressing for a reaction, hoping for a crack in your calm. And yet, when you pause, when you simply remain, you feel an unseen power awaken. It is not loud, it does not announce itself, and it does not demand attention. It is a steady, quiet presence that flows from your choices, from the space you allow yourself to hold. Have you noticed how strength often hides in restraint, how patience can carry more weight than any shouted argument? Every withheld word, every measured pause becomes an act of subtle authority. You do not move to control them, you do not seek to correct them, and yet your stillness speaks more clearly than any speech. There is a dignity in this restraint, a soft kind of power that they cannot touch. And in the moments when you feel the tug of impulse, you notice the rhythm of your own breath, the rise and fall of your chest, and the gentle beat of your own heart. It reminds you that there is a voice within, one that does not need to compete, one that does not need to prove itself. Sometimes the temptation to react can feel almost necessary, as if responding is the natural order of things. And yet, when you resist, when you allow the silence to remain, something extraordinary happens. The world does not pause, but you do. And in that pause, you discover a space where clarity grows, where your understanding deepens, and where your own sense of self is reinforced. Have you felt the quiet power that rises simply from choosing not to be pulled into the tide of expectation? It is in these moments that you begin to understand the subtle art of being without reacting. You notice that their words, their judgments, their attempts to provoke are like passing clouds. They may obscure the sun for a moment, but the sky above remains unchanged. Your calm is the sky, and your silence is the gentle light that continues to shine even when the clouds move across it. And as you watch this, a strange peace settles over you, soft and enduring like the first light of dawn touching the edge of a quiet hill. You may also begin to sense the delicate balance between patience and awareness. To remain quiet is not to be unaware. It is not indifference. It is careful observation, a gentle listening to both the world around you and the world within you. Every word spoken by others becomes a mirror, reflecting not only who they are, but who you are in the quiet spaces between them. Have you noticed how silence can reveal more than speech ever could? How the act of not reacting allows the truth to rise gently, unforced, into the light of understanding. And there is a strange satisfaction in this gentle authority, not the kind that is visible to others, but the kind that quietly fills your own being. You do not need their acknowledgement. You do not need their respect, though it may come or not. The power you hold is contained in your own restraint. in the way. You allow moments to pass without leaving marks of anger, frustration, or impatience. It is a subtle force, yet it feels enormous, like the hidden current beneath a still river. In time, you notice that your own mind becomes calmer, more deliberate, more attuned to the subtle rhythms of life. You do not react to every disturbance, yet you are not distant. You simply observe, quietly, with a steady heart and an aware mind. And in that quiet observation, you begin to understand a truth that is almost forgotten in the rush of noise, that the strongest power does not demand attention, does not shout, and does not chase. It simply exists, calmly, steadily, in the space between action and reaction. And so you sit with yourself, letting the world move around you, letting words and judgments rise and fall without drawing you into their orbit. You feel a quiet strength in every pause, a gentle authority in every choice not to react, and a soft clarity in every moment of calm. And in this, you come to know that true power is not loud, nor does it seek to dominate. It rests quietly within, steady and unshakable, waiting for no one to notice, yet always present, always whole. The world continues to move, as it always has, with voices rising and falling, with expectations pressing and fading, with judgments arriving and departing like leaves carried by the wind. And you remain quietly in the soft center of your own being. Have you ever noticed how stillness, once found, feels like coming home? Not a place made of walls or roofs, but a place made of breath, of awareness, of quiet understanding. In this stillness, you begin to see that strength is not the loudness of your voice, nor the force of your hand. True strength is softer than that. It is the calm that carries you through misunderstanding, the patience that allows you to remain unshaken, the quiet presence that does know. TD, to be recognized, to be real. How curious it is that the more you hold yourself with gentle care, the more unshakable you become. There is a peace in knowing that the world will continue, with or without your reaction, and that your own being is complete. Regardless of how others perceive it, you are no longer pulled by the need to prove, to clarify, to justify. You are free in the soft rhythm of your own heart, in the gentle rise and fall of your breath, in the simple presence of yourself. And in that freedom, you discover a small but profound joy, the knowledge that you are enough, here and now, just as you are. They may continue to speak, to judge, to misunderstand, and you notice that it no longer matters, not because their words are unimportant, but because they cannot touch the quiet within you. It is a sanctuary built from restraint, patience, and careful attention. Have you felt how much room there is in such a sanctuary, how every thought can rest there, how every feeling can be observed, without urgency, without fear? It is here that self-respect quietly grows, not from the applause of others, but from the gentle tending of your own heart. You may reflect on all the moments when you could have reacted, when you might have spoken sharply, when you might have let anger or fear dictate your actions. And you realize that choosing silence, choosing calm, choosing restraint has given you a gift far larger than any immediate victory could have. It has given you yourself. How strange it is that by saying nothing, you have spoken so much that by holding still, you have discovered motion in your own understanding. In this quiet, the world appears differently. Every sound carries less urgency. Every motion holds less pressure. And within this clarity, you notice the subtle beauty of existence. The soft play of light and shadow, one heartbeat. The rhythm of your thoughts as they pass without insisting upon attention. Life is no longer something to be conquered or tamed, but something to observe, to experience, to be with, in gentle presence. And there is a certain softness in this realization, a tender kind of power that feels nothing like strength in stories told by others. It is quieter, but it is no less real. It is a power that does not need validation, that does not need to be seen, that simply exists within, rooted deeply in the understanding that you are whole, that your calm cannot be taken, that your peace is yours to hold. Have you ever felt this? The quiet certainty that no storm, no words, no expectation can disturb the ground beneath your heart? You notice, too, that in this calm, life itself seems to breathe more gently around you. The urgency of the world slows in its passing, as though it recognizes the stillness within you. You do not chase or resist. You simply allow yourself to be, and in that allowing, everything seems lighter, softer, more bearable. You are not apart from the world, and yet you are not entangled. You are present, fully and quietly aware of every small sensation, every quiet thought, every gentle pulse of being. And in these moments, a deep, tender satisfaction settles into your chest, warm and steady. You do not need to speak to prove your worth. You do not need to act to demonstrate your strength. It is already there, quietly, firmly, patiently, waiting for no one's recognition, yet real and alive in every slow breath you take. And as you sit in this quiet, as you feel the soft strength of your own presence, you begin to understand that this is the culmination of all the stillness, all the patience, all the gentle restraint you have held, a calm that is complete, a self-respect that is unshakable, a peace that belongs entirely to you. And so you rest there in the quiet of your own being, letting the world move and speak and press against you, knowing that none of it can disturb the soft center you have discovered. You are whole. You are present. You are quietly, firmly strong.